In 2012, there was only one presidential candidate who predicted the economic collapse, who has never voted to raise your taxes, and who will bring our troops home. He has been right for decades.
This is not the kind of government that was designed by our founders of the country. It's not what was written in the Constitution. We've only had an income tax since 1913. But if you want a welfare state, and if you want to police the world and pay for the defense of Japan and Germany, send foreign aid to the Soviet Union, you not only need the income tax, you need the Federal Reserve to print up the money when the deficit is accumulated. So we think the government should be much smaller.
During the next decade, the American people will become poorer and less free, while they become more dependent on the government for economic security.
This country is in the middle of a recession for a lot of people. Michigan knows about it. Poor people know about it. The middle class knows about it. Wall Street doesn't know about it. Washington, D.C. doesn't know about it. But it's because of the monetary system and the excessive spending.
There's no joke. He is America's last true statesman, and he has actually been saying the same thing for the past 30 years about what our federal government needs to do to serve the people. That is, namely, follow the Constitution.
The Federal Reserve credit created during the last 8 months has not stimulated economic growth in technology or the industrial section. But a lot of it ended up in the expanding real estate bubble. This too will burst, as all bubbles do.
How could it be that you knew this on the banking committee in 2003 and nobody else did until after the collapse?
It really says a lot that the politically aware people in the military, those that are paying attention and engaged in the political process, are supporting someone who advocates an immediate withdrawal.
Our campaign got more money from the troops than all the other candidates put together.
I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I wanted to tell you why I support Ron Paul for president. It means a lot to me as a veteran to know that he's served his country in uniform and made the sacrifices that other veterans have made in the past.
My name is Eric Knowles. I'm an Air Force veteran.
My name is Jonathan Schaefer. I spent 6 years in the Navy.
Hello, my name is Tony Morick. I served in the Army for 8 years.
I'm Al Schlegel. I'm an 8-year Air Force veteran. Hi, my name is John Jones, and I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. There's great reason to have hope for Ron Paul's candidacy, as he's the only veteran in the Republican primary right now, the only representative in Congress that takes his oath to the Constitution and the rule of law seriously.
You sign up for the military, and you sign the dotted line. You're there to defend America and the Constitution, and Ron Paul is the only person that's been doing that for a while now.
I support Ron Paul because I believe he's the only candidate with the fortitude to actually stand by the Constitution.
I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and he is the only elected representative that actually takes his oath seriously. I think he's dead on when he talks about the Federal Reserve System. It's only because the government is able to print money to pay for the war that we're able to stay at war. And that act of printing money makes us all poorer.
You have to believe in the existence of a principle of evil to understand this stuff. Because what mankind is doing in these various governments is nothing but evil. The governments are inherently evil. They are representative of the oligarchical culture. The most evil people on this planet are the king and queen, etc., of the British Empire. That's the most evil thing on this planet, and has been for a long time. And so therefore you have to understand that there is a principle of evil afoot in the world, of my enemies. And they hate me and I despise them. I want them out. But the problem is humanity has not adopted its own cause. It has not committed itself to principles which are consistent with the nature of mankind. There's no way to negotiate with evil. You can only destroy it.
The Island.
I'm the coordinator of the Rhode Island Unemployed Council. And there's no doubt about the fact that there's a jobs emergency. There's a crisis in this country, all across the country. Here in Rhode Island, third highest in the nation. We need decisive action during the Depression, what FDR took. when he created the WPA, which put millions of people to work building things like the Perry Middle School, our sewage treatment plant in the city of Providence, bridges, roads, parks. We need to put people to work. We need to put them to work rebuilding our infrastructure, which the National Association of Civil Engineers said needs $4 trillion worth of investment to bring it back up to where it should be. We need to be switching over from the fossil fuels. We need to be pumping up the mass transit and everything, a serious thing that could put millions of people to work. We believe a job is a right and that something has to be done. Now, on Social Security, Medicare, and all the other human needs things, what we're telling you is go down and fight. Don't go down and work with Republicans, and they just want to chop our legs off, but you just going to chop our arms off. And we're not buying it anymore. We're not going to accept that anymore. What we're trying to tell you, we know that there is money, because I'm going to list it off for you. The Federal Reserve, over the last couple of years, has given the big giant banks $16 trillion. The big corporations right now, the Fortune 500, is sitting on $1.12 trillion in cash. The Bush tax cuts gave $1 trillion back during this 10-year period. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan took $4 trillion. And now we got this idiot attack on Libya. And what are they about to try to do with Syria? We need to stop that. Every single cruise missile is the equivalent of 10 teachers' jobs for a year. 10 teachers for every cruise missile you drop on Libya. We know there's money. And what we're telling you is, you got to go down and fight. And partisanship, there's nothing wrong with partisans, because the partisans all over Europe were a big part of killing the Nazis and stopping the Nazis. Being a partisan is a great thing. Tens of thousands of partisans resisted the fascists and gave their lives. So be a partisan. Be a partisan for the working class.
You can't just go and play with people's lives and stuff because you're part of the wealth and the elite and you're worried about ancestors to come. What about the ones that's sitting here now? Unemployment's running out on them. How are they supposed to live? They're living high on the hog, but we're sitting down here trying to figure out where our next meal's going to come from, our next mortgage payment's going to come from.
You have given your full support to the Obama administration and really the Pelosi and Reid agenda, which now has unemployment in Rhode Island at well over 10%. At what point will you truly break with your party and actually represent Rhode Island? The Obama administration is a wet blanket on this economy. When will you break from your party and actually do something different for Rhode Island?
First, I'll take a comment and I'll ask a question. Do you think you should impeach Obama for going into Libya?
Do you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, you did have a question.
Yeah.
My error.
Well, I just want to say, do you think it's okay that Obama went into Libya and took action through the UN instead of going through Congress to declare war?
My view of what you just said is that in cutting this super committee deal, Democrats have chosen to jump off a cliff with their hands tied behind their backs. And as far as I'm concerned, it was an act of willful, self-serving, studied incompetence. My question to you is, with Democrats like that, who needs Republicans?
Following these questions from Langevin's constituents, a member of LaRouche PAC who was present in the audience asked the following.
How you doing, Congressman? I'm good. How are you? All right, I'll be doing better if we got Obama out. But I do have just a few things to say. In a question. The problem right now in the United States Congress, the Congress that just got had on the Budget Control Act of 2011, because they thought that their savings were going to be lost if S&P downgraded the United States of America. That Congress, a bunch of cowards, the only way that they can actually save themselves as a generation would be to force through the Glass-Steagall Act that's in the House right now. What Glass-Steagall does is something that Dodd-Frank does not do. Is to take all of the insurance companies like AIG and the investment banks and separate those functions from the American commercial banking system. The FDIC backs that. Under the bailout, the FDIC has functionally been extended to the banks of the world. JP Morgan Chase, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland. We are right now the creditor for the world. We're the lender of last resort. And under the crisis in Europe right now, Obama just extended to Angela Merkel that will put even more money into their system. With Glass-Steagall, we shut that down, and we only support the debt, the sovereign debt of the United States of America. If you don't sign on to that bill, H.R. 1489, everybody in this room has the right to throw you out next election with Obama.
You have a question?
My question is, why won't you sign on to it?
Good afternoon, I'm Leandra Bernstein, and this is an LPAC TV breaking news update. Reports from this morning and early afternoon all seem to be announcing that there is now a death warrant out for the US dollar. All reports indicate a new United States bailout of the Eurozone is presently underway. First, it was reported to Lyndon LaRouche's EIR magazine from a reliable government source in Washington, D.C., that the crisis today is far more dangerous than in 2008, and according to the source, the coming big U.S. bailout of Euro debt is inevitable. And to governments and officials operating in the present framework, they see that there are no other options. Now, what was being reported throughout the news wires beginning this morning is cryptic at best, but it all points to a further extended U.S. bailout of the euro. Bloomberg reported benignly that a rise in the euro took place after the ECB said it would lend dollars to euro area banks to supposedly ease concerns of a full-blown financial meltdown of the eurozone. The ECB said it would coordinate with the Federal Reserve and other central banks, like the Bank of England and Japanese Central Bank, to offer 3 separate 3-month loans of US dollars to euro area banks, 3 months being enough to back the bank's debt through the new year. However, beyond the totally arcane news reports, what this amounts to is a new, unlimited bailout where US dollars are being extended as fiat through a swap window to back more worthless euro debt. So when the wires talk about the swap rate of the dollar for the euro, what they're saying in essence is that the Federal Reserve is opening a dollar for euro swap to the ECB or other central banks, offering unlimited amounts of liquidity in exchange for that bank's currency. In other words, an unlimited European bailout. Now, there's a second side to this story, which broke only hours after the announcement of the unlimited US dollar swap line. It was announced earlier today that Timothy Geithner will be heading off to Poland this Friday to meet with finance ministers and to float a proposal to the Europeans that would turn their 440 billion euro EFSF stability fund into 4 trillion euros. If you think that sounds like magic, it's because it is. This is the same method used in the TALF bailout in the United States, which took a credit line backed by asset-backed securities worth $20 billion and leveraged it 10-to-1 through the New York Fed, enabling lending of up to $200 billion. So the proposal for Europe, which hit the press as a leak from Treasury Secretary Geithner's office, would call for the ECB to leverage the EFSF Stability Fund already approved through the European Parliament 10-to-1, backed by guarantees of loan payments and, more than likely, a U.S. government guarantee as well. Then it is said that the newly leveraged 4 trillion euros ought to be enough to handle the crises of Italy, Spain, Greece, and so on. Now, the idea that an insolvency crisis, on top of a full-scale financial economic breakdown, can be managed by throwing more bailouts and more Greek-styled austerity at it is itself insane. But even before that, the political support for the proposal itself is not exactly secure, and the mounting reluctance to continue with the bailout among leading European nations makes this a completely heated situation. The thing to continue watching is the German state elections this week, and we'll be keeping a close eye on that situation, starting with an interview with Helga Zepp-LaRouche this weekend. So right now, there is a mad panic, where the so-called official solutions have gone beyond insane and are really criminally insane. And what LaRouche and our international partners in Germany, France, and Denmark have called for as a global Glass-Steagall is the only thing that makes any sense. The lead stories are the unlimited dollar swap window to funnel US dollars over to the Eurozone, which is fast breaking apart, and the leak from the office of President Obama's Treasury Secretary on the proposed 10-to-1 leveraged bailout of the EU. None of this will work. Get this message out to the members of the Congress. These indicators just reported to you mean it is time to stop the destruction of the United States. Only Glass-Steagall provides a remedy. And as long as President Obama and his junta in the Fed and Treasury Department are in power, the U.S. and Europe are doomed. We'll bring you more on this evening. This has been an LPAC TV breaking news update.